Welcome back to my channel. I'm Mark Phillips, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you 3 big ideas from the movie Hillbilly Elegy, the Netflix film, based upon a true story. Very excited to share this with you because there's a lot going on in this movie, and I thought it had layers of interesting ideas and nuggets to pull from it that we can really understand the human experience, right? And see how we can make progress, how we can realize goals and dreams, and where we come from, the environment that we're raised in, our family. Lots of stuff in this one. I thought it was very well done, and it was very meaty, right? It was very meaty. It wasn't superficial. It wasn't just entertainment. It was at times hard to watch, at other times very endearing to watch. There was a broad range of human emotions in this movie. For those of you who don't know what this is the Netflix film. It's based on a true story. The person who wrote it, the guy who wrote it, it's actually his story, right, of his family. And I just thought it was very well done. And I have to be honest with you, it didn't really resonate with me initially before I watched it. I wasn't dying to see it. It didn't really pull me in. But once I got watching it, like I said, even though it was a little bit hard to watch it sometimes, I came away just with a lot to think about. And that's why I wanted to share it in this video. But it's based on a true story about his family heritage coming from Kentucky, and then how his grandmother and then mother lived in Ohio, and just the family dynamics and the idea that environment and our family shapes us, right? And then it causes us to behave in certain ways that can sometimes be destructive, self-destructive, and create a lot of suffering for ourselves and our family. You know, that's on the negative side of the coin. On the positive side of the coin, families give us very precious gifts, right? And we shouldn't discount that. Even though there was a lot of heartache and suffering in this family, there was a lot of good that came out of it too. And in the end, he went on to achieve a lot of his goals and dreams and went way farther than anyone in his family ever had, as far as maybe financial and economic and societal, right, success. So we'll talk about that in this video. But the first big idea I want to share with you is the idea of environment shaping us, right? Environment causing us to behave in certain ways. And when I mean environment, I mean our family environment, and also our, the geographical area we live in. Basically, our environment shapes us to a very high degree, and it can cause us to be the same as people in our environment, right? Because birds of a feather flock together. And if we allow ourselves if we don't envision a better future, or if we don't envision more, right, to become more and do more and have more, we can get caught in that looping environment and behavior cycle, and maybe we won't realize the goals and dreams we could realize. Because I believe that we can envision a better future, and we can emotion a better future, right? We can see it and we can feel it, and we can start to create it from within, and then ideas will come to us that can help us arrive to that. But if we don't look outside of our current level of our current environment or our current family, right, about what your mother or father has done, what your grandma or grandpa has done on both sides of your family, if we don't look outside of that, and we can create the same experiential essence of that, right? Which isn't, I'm not judging that, but what I am saying is that we have the ability to go further. We have it within us, right? Our imagination, Neville Goddard called imagination God inside of us. We have that power to do it, and not to use it is kind of a spite to God or source or the universe as a whole. Stephen Pressfield talks about this in his short little blurb, The Artist's Life. Like, when you don't create and you give into the resistance, right, that you're facing, to the resistance to create, which is self-doubt, negative self-talk, right, fear, all those things, anxiety, worry about what people think, of judgment. If you don't create, he said that you're spiting angels, you're spiting him as a fellow human being, because you're robbing him of the experience of enjoying your creation, and then you're robbing yourself of the experience of enjoying the creative process, right? We came here to create. So if we don't create at the end of our lives, I believe we're going to be very, very sad about that, right? That's one of the things that drives me so much, is that on my deathbed, I want to say I did everything that I could and I let as much out as I could, right? You start wherever you start. If there are years when you have repressed creating, or years when you have repressed expressing yourself as an I mean higher self, right? As a creative human being with your perceptions and your perspectives and your unique outlook on the world. If you've repressed that, you can always start today to create. So that's what I believe, is that at the end of my life, my goal is to say, I did what I needed to do. I came here, I let it all out. And yes, it was fearful sometimes. Yes, it was scary. Yes, I was, over obsessing about it many times, but I pushed through that resistance. So a little bit of a tangent there, but this idea of environment and behavior, if we want to, we can set our sights on places we want to go, or the person we want to be, the things we want to do. But it's challenging. Let's not sugarcoat it. As we saw in the movie, a lot of the family members ended up very close to where they started, right? And they stayed in that kind of orbit, so to speak. But this main character, this kid, he went very far beyond, because he was driven and he made a decision to go further, and he had the ability to go further. Like, everything conspired, right? This is another idea that I like to think about for the human experience, is like, how were you made? What's your gift? What's your unique talent and your unique essence that you can use as your vehicle to go further in life, to serve more, to be more, to do more, and have more, right? What's the vehicle that you came in with, right? This is unique to every human being. He had a unique ability. He was very smart. He was he applied himself. He worked hard, right? All those things made it possible for him to realize much more success than his mother did, his grandparents did, and the rest of his family members did. Now, they realized their own success, but he was able to go much further, again, looking at it from a broader perspective. So that's the first idea. Your environment can shape you, but you have the ability to go further. We have the ability to go further. The second big idea is that we're all standing on the shoulders of giants. I think about this so much. Our families give us tremendous gifts, right? His family, his mother gave him tremendous gifts, even though she was addicted to drugs and was cycling in this looping pattern of behavior that was also causing a lot of suffering. She gave him a lot of gifts. She gave him the gifts of smarts, right? Brilliance. She gave him the gifts of love. When she wasn't in that state, she was very loving towards him, right? And at times they had a very nice loving bond, right? Of course, there was a negative side to that, but they had that. His grandmother gave him so many gifts, right? She was just such a special character, played by Meryl Streep. Gave him a lot of gifts. Tough love, right? Sometimes we need the tough love. So standing on the shoulders of giants reminds me of the quote that, something to the effect of, if I have seen further or if I have done more, it's only because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. And when I think about my own family and people in my life, the gifts they've given me, it makes me very emotional, right? Because they are giants. And the goal in a perfect world is to go further. And it doesn't mean that the people before you didn't go far, right? The goal is to evolve. The goal is to make more, do more, be more, right? Expand and grow, and then have a more rich experience. This is like the flowering of the human experience, and it happens on a family level as well, right? Because if you look back generationally, you'll see that great-grandparents went so far, then grandparents went so far, then parents went so far, then children, and it always gets better and better. This is why, even though it may appear that the human experience is, if you look myopically at certain aspects of it, it may appear that it's not getting better. But I believe that it always is getting better. Even if temporarily it appears worse, there's a greater engine at play here. And it may be temporarily more painful, but that's only because you have to go through that in order to have a better experience, right? It's all about this game of contrasting. My third and final big idea from this movie is the idea that the decisions we make and the behaviors that we engage in affect our consciousness at a deep level and very profoundly, right? Speaking specifically about his mother in the movie, right? She was addicted to drugs and kept spiraling in that loop and really couldn't get out of it. She did end up getting out of it. At the end of the movie, they talk about her success, but she was in that for quite some time, right? And what I see when I look at that is the experience that we all have, right? Let me give you an example. I believe that the physical body is just like our conscious body or our thought body. And we know that our consciousness affects the way we behave in the world, right? Our beliefs, this is our paradigm of the world. This is the way we see ourselves, right? And there can be dysfunction in there based on our prior experiences. And because of that, let's use his mother in the character of his mother in the movie. She was addicted to heroin, right? She was addicted to drugs and using those as a way to escape and give herself a little bit of momentary pleasure because she wasn't happy with her life, right? She had experienced things, she'd seen things. And what I believe is that over time, if that continues to happen, the cuts and the wounds get deeper and more pronounced and just more of them onto our psyche, onto our consciousness. And when that happens so much, we sometimes wake up and go, you know what? There's so much here to heal that I don't want to expend the effort to do that. Because just like if we want to heal our physical body, right? If you've been eating poorly for many years and not exercising, it's going to be a lot more effort and will required to get healthy than it would be if, say, you've only been doing it for a day or so. Or maybe you never really did it and you just have some maintenance and upkeep to do, right? This is the thing where there are wild swings back and forth, then it gets more challenging to get back on that track. And one of the things that I think is so prevalent in the human experience is that if we allow ourselves to go down roads that only give us momentary pleasure, and we're not thinking of a broader perspective about happiness and joy and bliss, right? And we're only looking for that momentary pleasure or momentary escape. Over time, those are little cuts to our psyche that will eventually have to be healed if we want to get better, right? And it's easier to maintain than it is to full-fledged turn the train around and start going in the other direction. And so I always think about that when I see people in unhappy situations, right? Or unjoyful, unblissful situations. Again, something inside of them is causing them to behave in a certain way. And then that's just perpetuating that cycle. And you see this a lot in drug addicts, like she was a drug addict, and also in alcoholics, right? Alcoholics Anonymous talk about this too. They cause pain to other people. They cause pain to themselves. And once that cut is done either to your own consciousness or the pairing consciousness of you in relationship to another person, right? You're drawing from their emotional bank account. You draw that down. That's a real thing, right? We always want to be filling up other people's emotional bank account. We want to walk into a room and have that room be better because we're there. We don't want to pull energy down. We're bringing light into the world here, right? We have the ability to express and shine joy into the world just as much as we have the ability to put negativity and unhappiness into the world. That's how it gets in, right? That's how it gets in. We get to choose. And so when I see people spiraling in those looping patterns of behavior that is creating suffering and unhappiness for themselves and the people around them, it really makes me think about my own actions and my own behavior. And it inspires me and it makes me want to be a better person. And we're learning from other people. We don't have to put our hand in fire to know that we're going to get burned when we put our hand in fire, right? We don't have to be addicted to drugs and alcohol to know that that's going to create a level of suffering and unhappiness for ourselves and others, and we can learn from one another. This is the idea about, sharing experiences, right? No one can have it all, no one can experience it all, but we can share, and it's happening more and more so much now as there's being so much more content put out into the world that is sharing these ideas. So that's my third and final takeaway. I hope these are beneficial to you. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And comment down below if you've seen this movie, what's your takeaway, right? Do any of these resonate with you? Until next time, I want to thank you so much for watching and tuning into the channel. And I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Thanks so much. Have an awesome day.